thing about this is every single member of Congress has an X account. They can record a video with their phone and talk about how they individually are against all of this outrageous spending. But it's the ex-owner who says that if they ultimately go along with a bill like this, he is going to bankroll a primary against them. It makes Elon Musk the center of the universe on Capitol Hill in a way that nobody has been.
Ever seen.
I get that we always have, every Christmas time, we have these government shutdown fights, and usually they just complain about it and then vote for it anyway. But there has never been an unelected official like Elon Musk at the center of it like this.
These clowns, these absolute congressional clowns on Capitol Hill, they literally have no idea what's happening, but you will. We're going to cut through all the nonsense and see what's really going on with this looming government shutdown and what it all means for the new Trump administration and beyond. You're going to absolutely love this. Greetings, everyone. It is Live Stream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your patron professor. Yes, at least today, I'm going to help you stay sane during these insane times. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. I think you'll be very impressed with how we cut through all the nonsense, all the BS, and expose for you what's really going on and how it all points to the rise of a new civilizationalist populist age that you are bringing about. As always, we got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We're live on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, you name it. Just a quick reminder, if you want to ask me your questions, because YouTube has unfortunately suspended our super chats. We've been completely and totally demonetized. What a nice thing to do before Christmas, right? Well, maybe that'll finally get resolved in this growing golden age. But until then, just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. You can join any one of our levels of support. You have instant access to our very own virtual platform where you can ask me all of your questions. I'll be happy to answer them right here on this live stream. So just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any level of support that you like. You can ask me all your questions. It'll be an honor for me to answer them right here on this live stream. All right. We need to talk about what's really going on in D.C. right now, because I think there's a lot of confusion surrounding this. As you know, the second CR went down in flames yesterday, thanks to 38 Republicans. This was technically the second continuing resolution. The first was just a pork-filled omnibus spending spree that Congress gets itself with every Christmas, replete with voting for themselves a big pay raise. But the difference this year is that we caught them. We caught them in the act. We caught them with their hand in the proverbial cookie jar. And we got Elon Musk, as you heard there, largely to thank for that. He mobilized his ex-army of tens of millions of patriots who flooded the phone lines and the text messages and the emails of the congressional representatives and told them in no uncertain terms to kill that bill. Kill that bill or face an immediate primary opponent. And lo and behold, they did. And in its place, there was a relatively clean CR. It shrank from 1,500 pages to just over 100. It's online. You can read it yourself. And of course, right on cue, because this is what Republicans do, right on cue, the congressional Republicans killed it. 38 bitter, angry, resentful, constituent-despising Republicans voted against it, even though President Trump gave his support to it. And now it looks like the government is about to shut down, which frankly, I'll be delighted over. I could care less. Shut it down. 15 days to slow the spend, as I've heard it put. Put the government under its own lockdown for a while. That sounds great to me. Now, that's exactly what President Trump is saying, right? If there's going to be a shutdown, then heck, let it happen now. Let it happen under Biden, under the senile excuse for an administration, and then we'll fix it come January 20th. Here's Scott Jennings reminding CNN that the failure of this resolution does not lie with those who are not even in power as of yet. Check this out.
Squarely on Elon Musk first and foremost, and Trump after that, and that would be the timeline of how this played out. What do you say to her?
Well, she let the mask slip right at the end. She said, "Who's the president right now? I mean, who's the president-elect?"
But she asked the right question first. Who is the president right now? Joe Biden, who we rarely hear from, and the Wall Street Journal reported today, has been diminished for the last 4 years, and we've had unelected people running around running the federal government, apparently. So if that is what they're worried about, if they're worried about people who aren't Donald Trump, running the government or having influence, I wonder where they've been the last 4 years. Now, this doesn't excuse anybody's behavior on Capitol Hill tonight, but I think it's pretty rich for Democrats to be worried about people who aren't Donald Trump having influence when the current president, a Democrat, is AWOL and apparently not able to execute the duties of the office.
Now, in line with that, obviously there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of grandstanding, all kinds of blame games going around. This morning, I really want to cut through all of that. I think that's all a bunch of noise, as what does Steve Bannon say? That's noise, not signal. We're going with signal here. Because I do think we are seeing something emerge here that's far more profound than the ridiculous politics surrounding a continuing resolution. I think that's just a symptom. I think we're seeing nothing less than the emergence of a new politics happening right before our very eyes that will, mark this down, write this down, this day, right? What are we? December 20th, just 5 days away from the big day, my favorite day of the year. I believe we are seeing right now a new politics emerge that will indeed change politics for the foreseeable future. And I want to show you that step by step in terms of how this CR fiasco has been playing out. I want to show you step by step how we really are witnessing the rise of a new politics that will indeed change the way we are governed for the foreseeable future. And you're right at the heart of that. To really understand this profound new politics, I think we first have to understand how this CR, or both these CRs, these continuing resolutions, particularly the original Porculus one, how they both point to a perennial problem inside the Republican Party. And it's a perennial problem both Trump and Musk are well aware of. And it's one that I believe that the new politics that's rising will indeed finally resolve. So what do I mean about this perennial problem? I came across a very insightful tweet that I think really spells it out quite nicely. It gets to the heart of the Republicans' dysfunctionality. It's a long tweet, so I'll summarize it for you. The fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats, and there is one, there is clearly a difference, maybe not the one you think, but the fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats is that the Democrats are entirely aligned between their leadership and their grassroots, their leadership and their voters. Both the Democrat leadership and the Democrat voter want more spending and more government. The question now is simply, how much can you get? You got to get that. Both the Democrat leadership and their voters want more government and more spending. And here's the key, there is never a disagreement over that ever. The only disagreements come from, how much can they go for? Who can they put in that'll give them the best and the most they can hope for, that kind of stuff. But for the Republicans, there's a radical discrepancy between their leadership and their grassroots, a very noticeable gap or divide. The grassroots wants less government and less spending. The grassroots is all for shutting down this freaking government. The grassroots are demanding that their leaders cut spending, shrink government, and to be fair, perhaps slightly more than half of the Republican leadership, like Rand Paul, for example, is all for that. But a good 40% of Republican leaders want nothing to do with that. To be sure, they're all for cutting and gutting Democrat pet projects. Sure, no problem. And you'll see them featured on Sean Hannity all the time talking about that. But then, when you're not looking, they continue to want to fund to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars their own pet projects, of their own donors, of their own supporters and the like the military-industrial complex or Ukraine or cheap labor for their donors and so on. They're lobbyists. And so you can immediately see right there the quagmire that Speaker Mike Johnson is in. To be completely forthright and honest, I am no fan of. I am no fan of Johnson. But at the very least, you could see the impossible job he has. He has to navigate crossing a stream where the current is running in both directions. That's how this tweet put it. I thought that was brilliant. He has to navigate crossing a stream where the current runs in both directions. I think that's so key to understanding the dysfunctionality inherent in congressional Republicans. Mike Johnson needs 218 votes to pass anything. He does not have 218 votes from members who all agree to make cuts in spending. That number, according to this tweet again, is probably more like 180 on a good day. Right? I think he's being generous, but we'll give it to him. So how does Johnson get from 180 votes to 218? All right. Interestingly enough, isn't that 38? Again, this is from that tweet, which is very, very interesting. Am I doing my math right correctly? I think 180 out of 218, doesn't that equal 38? Interesting, right? Well, he needs 218 to pass. So how does he get from the 180 to 218? Well, he has to make deals with those 38s, those appropriators who want to spend more. But as he lines up those deals to get those votes, he ends up losing more and more votes from the more diehard spending cuts advocates. So again, as this tweet recognizes brilliantly, it's like squeezing a tube of toothpaste with openings on both ends. By contrast, the Democrats never have this problem. Never. Because there are never any members of Democrats objecting to spending more. And the cherry on top is spending more is how you buy the votes you need. So they have all the wind in their back in the current logic of D.C., in the current politics of D.C., all the wind is at the back of the Democrats, and the Republicans are totally divided. And so regardless of all the other issues that Republicans have or the various dynamics behind the failure of this vote last night, I think that this meta dynamic explains so much for why the GOP, particularly the congressional Republicans, are so pathetically dysfunctional. They have a discrepancy between their leadership and their grassroots that the Democrats simply don't have. Everyone in the Democrat Party wants to spend more, whereas the Republican grassroots wants to cut spending, all the while half their leadership wants to increase it for their donors and their lobbyists. And that's how you get this massive rift between, Republican voters and Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn. But, and this is where things get very, very, very interesting. This perennial problem of this radical discrepancy between the conflicting values of the Republican voter and the Republican politician points to an even bigger divide, doesn't it? That's actually just a microcosm of a much larger discrepancy, a much larger divide. What does this perennial problem inherent in the Republican Party ultimately point to? What's the real divide? Well, all you have to do is recognize how so many Republican leaders actually try to exploit this discrepancy between themselves and their own voters to their own benefit. So, for example, Rogan O'Hanley over at DC Drano, he brilliantly pointed out that all these big, brave Republicans pretending to be fiscal hawks today, for defending, voting against Trump's slimmed down CR, you'll notice they were all so quiet. quiet like little lambs yesterday when the deep state pork-filled omnibus was on the floor. Isn't that interesting? So as long as you're not paying any attention, they'll spend. They'll raise this sham we call a debt limit, debt ceiling that no one abides by, but they use it as a pawn. When you're not paying attention, they'll spend like drunken sailors, but then strip them of that spending and they'll vote against any other bill or any other CR in the name of fiscal responsibility. Because you supposedly as a voter want that. I mean, we don't call these guys swamp rats for nothing. But this is what Mike Cernovich pointed out. He just brilliantly, again, Congress always, he does this in all caps. Congress always raises the debt ceiling. There's never been a time it hasn't. Always. It doesn't matter if Republicans are in charge or Democrats are in charge. It doesn't matter. The debt ceiling is nothing more than a gimmick that self-branded fiscal conservatives, principled conservatives can hide behind when they have to vote on a bill that doesn't send money their way, that doesn't send money to their wars, that doesn't send money to their lobbyists, doesn't send money to their donors. Well, then they cloak that self-interest behind the veneer of fiscal conservatism. That's when they exploit their constituents' fiscal conservatism to their own advantage, even though they will literally sell those principles out in the next CR. So these are the games they play. They become masters of deception, or better, they were masters of deception. Unfortunately for them, they're only deceiving themselves. They ain't deceiving any one of us anymore. And again, we largely have Elon Musk to thank for that, for shedding much needed light on the perennial problem of the Republican Party, this fundamental discrepancy between their voters and their politicians, but even more importantly, his proposed solution. How do we ultimately resolve this discrepancy? Elon Musk said it himself. Any Republican that votes against the Magga agenda will be primaried in 2026, period, end of discussion. He doesn't care if he has to primary the entire party. Any Republican that votes against the Magga agenda will be primaried in 2026. They will be gone in 2 years, period, end of discussion. Now, specifically, he was referring to any Republican who voted for that porculus monstrosity. They were going to be out in 2 years. But that threat stands regardless. Any Republican who votes against the MAGA agenda, who votes against Trump's cabinet picks, who votes against Doge, is going to be facing a primary challenger funded, at least in part, by the richest man on the planet, whose net worth, by the way, just exceeded $400 billion. He can take care of congressional races. It's not a problem. Throwing $1 billion into congressional races is a walk in the park for this guy. Now, a lot of people, a lot of commentators are flipping out over this. Why the heck are Trump and Elon picking a fight with Republicans? Why, given everything that we've achieved since November 5th, why are Elon and Trump going after people like Chip Roy and Nancy Mace and all these other Republicans who voted against the CR last night? Why threaten them when you could be threatening and defeating Democrats? That's the question that's going all around CNN and MSNBC and even Fox and to a certain extent on X. And I'm going to give you the answer to that. The definite answer. And this answer is going to absolutely blow you away. But first, gang, if you are just joining us, if you want to ask me your questions here, Because YouTube has unfortunately suspended our super chats, just click on that link below. Join any one of our levels of support, and you have access to our very own virtual platform where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them on this live stream. Just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any level of support you like, and I'll be happy to answer your questions on our own censorship-free virtual platform. Also, if you are one of the 100 million Americans struggling with all the weight gain and loss of energy that comes with a fatty liver, I've got an amazing supplement for you. Liver Health Formula is an all-natural supplement. It contains 12 clinically proven botanicals that help recharge and protect your liver. It's manufactured right here in the USA and approved by independent American doctors. And if you click on that link below right now, you can actually try Liver Health Formula and receive a free bottle of blood sugar formula when you order today. So don't let a fatty liver keep you sluggish and inactive. You know that for me, this is personal. I recently lost over 60 pounds, and I can say it was one of the best decisions I ever made. So now it's your turn. Click on that link below right now or go to liverhelp.com, liverhelp.com/Turley, and claim your free bonus gift. That's getliverhelp.com/Turley. I always got to get those URLs right. I always mess those up. All right. And it's great. The Liver Health Formula is absolutely amazing. We've had so much wonderful feedback from them. So why on earth are Trump and Elon going after Republicans? The answer to that is actually rather simple. A new politics is emerging. A new politics is emerging. Trump and Elon and Vivek and RFK and Tulsi and JD, right? Everything you need to know are in those, how many names did I just give? Like 6 names. Trump, Elon, Vivek, RFK, Tulsi, JD. They all represent together a new politics. And this new politics calls out the old politics for what it has become: a uniparty politics, a politics of the establishment. That divide, that perennial problem of that discrepancy between the Republican voter and the Republican leadership points to a larger divide. And that larger divide transcends party. It's a divide between the people and the political class. Now, think about it. We talked about this the other day. The Republicans won on November 5th, thanks to you. The Republicans won the most decisive landslide win in a presidential contest in the last 2 generations. This was by far more significant than anything George Herbert Walker Bush ever pulled off. We've talked about that back in '88. This is much more significant than when he won 40 states, because he won it with a borrowed coalition. It wasn't his coalition, and he quickly unraveled it and destroyed it within 4 years. This was much bigger than Obama in 2008. Obama lost votes in 2012. Obama barely won re-election in 2012, where Trump has increased his margin in each subsequent election, in 3 elections, from 2016 to 2020, got 7 million more votes. And then from 2020 to 2024, got millions more than 2020. Trump won a historic landslide. We handed the Republicans the single biggest win in 2 generations. The Democrats are shell-shocked. They're leaderless. They're licking their wounds. They're more politically vulnerable than they've ever been. And what do Republicans do? How do they repay us? Senate Republicans, who are in the majority only because of Trump, are doing everything they can to thwart his cabinet picks. And congressional Republicans are doing everything they can to thwart DOGE and the massive cuts in spending and bureaucracy that are incoming. That is exactly how your Republicans are responding. And so the only remaining question is why? Why? Why, after receiving the most clear, decisive mandate from the American people, why are Republicans acting this way? Well, note what the question assumes. What's the assumption of the questions? The assumption of the question, I actually have somebody in my office right now. What? My cell phone? It's upstairs. Would you want to talk to the live stream? We've got apparently a Christmas delivery that came in. My wife came in. At least it's not the baby coming in from behind. You ever see that CNN one? She's like, I need your cell phone. I need to find your cell phone. Anyway, sorry. Note what is the assumption of the question. The assumption is that we're actually dealing with two distinct parties. The question assumes that when Republicans win, the Democrats lose. That's the assumption. Now, of course, at one level, that's true. Republicans get to lead the committees. Republicans get to go to the White House. Yeah, sure. At that level, sure, it's true. But at a deeper level, what if we're just now fully appreciating the fact that the Democrats and Republicans are just two faces of a single political party, a uniparty, an establishment duopoly that exists solely for their own empowerment, their own enrichment, and are thus ultimately answerable only to their donors and lobbyists? Gang, I honestly don't know how many times I need to say this. This is the new politics. It's no longer Republican versus Democrat. It's the people versus the permanent political class. And hear me write this down, because I think this is absolutely key to everything that's happening right now in Washington, D.C. This new politics is just as prepared to gut the Republican Party every bit as much as it has already defeated the Democrats. I'll say that again. This new politics, the politics of the people versus the political class, this new politics is prepared to gut the Republican Party, literally primary every single gutless rhino. It's prepared to gut the Republican Party every bit as much as it is prepared to defeat the Democrats. Because they are one and the same. And the boldness, the sheer boldness of Trump and Musk and JD and Tulsi and RFK and Vivek is found in the fact that they now believe we have reached a critical mass of political power, financial power, and technological power that can actually get this done. We can actually do this. We can gut the Republicans as we defeat the Democrats. We are now in an unprecedented position politically with Trump's landslide, financially with the richest man on the planet, and technologically with the new online media, with the mass mobilization that we're able to galvanize through the internet, what's often referred to as techno-populism or cyber-civilizationalism, as we talk so often on this channel about. We are now in a position to both, that's the key, both gut the GOP, replace all the rhinos with MAGA faithful in the primaries, and defeat the Democrats. It's not just the latter. We can displace every single rhino and defeat the Democrats. Displace and defeat. That's the new politics. That's the new politics. The politics that emerged on November 5th. So what does that mean? What it means is you're no longer safe if you've got an R next to your name, Congressman. I'm sorry. We don't care. We don't care. Oh, I'm a principled conservative. Who gives a flip? Given the perennial problem inherent in the Republican Party. Who gives a flip? We don't care if you've got an R next to your name, since you sell us out every chance you get. Now, of course, if you follow the news, I don't know why you would, but if you follow the CNN, MSNBC, even Fox, they have yet to catch up to this new political paradigm shift. They're clueless. They have no idea. They still think Elon Musk is a fool. Jordan Peterson talks about that all the time. He's like, don't bet against Elon Musk. They think he's a fool, the smartest man on the planet. You think he's a fool? Yeah, they still think he's a fool. They think Trump is politically careless. They actually still believe that. They actually think it's foolhardy to target Republicans like Chip Roy or Nancy Mace or the other 38 that voted against the continuing resolution last night. They think this is a waste of political capital. They think it's utterly bizarre and frankly stupid for Elon and Trump to be taking on Republicans when they could be taking on Democrats. Make no mistake. Anyone who still thinks that way right now does not understand the historical moment we're in. This isn't 1991 anymore. This isn't 2008. This most certainly is not 2016. We are witnessing a new political era rising up. More broadly, a political, financial, and technological era that is redefining the political divide away from the traditional horizontal divide of left versus right and Democrat versus Republican and liberal versus conservative into a new era that redefines the divide vertically. The people versus the political class, the ruled versus the rulers, the ordinary citizen versus the oligarch. And what you've got to get is that in this new politics, this new vertical divide, Republicans and Democrats are now on the same side. You got to get that. This is the new politics. Republicans and Democrats are on the same side. Either you're on the side of the people, like Trump and Tulsi and JD and RFK and Vivek and Elon, or you're on the side of the corrupt, permanent establishment oligarchy political class, like McConnell and Schumer and Pence and Pelosi and Graham and Warren. I couldn't give two rips over whether you belong to some group called the Freedom Caucus. Yahoo! I couldn't give two shits over that. The path to hell is paved with Freedom Caucus members and so-called principled conservatives. What the hell good have you done in these last 20 years? Is the deficit smaller? Is the debt smaller? Is spending reduced? Has government been cut? Those days of being able to say, I'm a Freedom Caucus member, I'm a principled conservative, those days are over. You're clowns. You belong to an old politics where the vast majority of the country still had some semblance of confidence and trust in our public institutions. Those days are long gone. If you're a regular to this channel, you know we are experiencing a profound crisis of legitimacy. We talk about it all the time, delegitimization. And this crisis of legitimacy is happening with every single public institution. Gallup's polling has never had trust at a lower level than it is right now in the modern political era for literally every public institution. This isn't about Republicans versus Democrats anymore. They both suck. They both suck. Both parties have lost the confidence and trust of the American people. Gallup has consistently found that 6 out of 10 registered voters want to see a third party. 6 out of 10. The Republicans and the Democrats are currently both going the way of the Whigs. And if you think Elon is going scorched earth with the Republicans, gang, wait until you see what he's got planned for the Democrats, and even some political parties in Europe. This is going to blow you away. But first, each one of us, all of us, have an opportunity to finally stop big tech and government overreach. Patriots are, as we speak, reclaiming our privacy. And you have no better way of protecting yourself than with SLNT. That's short for silence. Silence Faraday products block all incoming and outgoing signals so no one can get their hands on your information. From key FOBs to phones and laptops, simply place your device inside, close the sleeve, and voila, that's it. You're off the grid and safeguarded from unauthorized access. Go silent today by clicking on that link below, or go to slnt.com/Turley to save 15% plus free shipping on all qualified orders. Stay ahead of what's coming and secure your privacy today. Again, that's slnt.com/Turley for 15% off and free shipping on all qualified orders. slnt.com/Turley. All right. We can see now what Elon is doing, not just with the Republicans, but with the Democrats. Elon is considering very much the same strategy. He's considering backing a number of moderate Democrats in primaries featuring far-left incumbents. So he would, in effect, be the anti-Soros. He would be doubling or even tripling the funding for moderate Democrats in these contests that Soros's funding have pushed so far to the left. And that would be money very, very well spent, precisely because it does appear that people, even in the bluest of blue regions, have had enough of this far left nonsense. We talked about how back in November, radically progressive district attorneys backed by Soros lost 13 of the top 25 races across the nation, even in some of the deepest blue strongholds. For example, that included the Republican turned independent Nathan Hochman in the city of Los Angeles. He crushed their ultra-liberal Soros-backed DA George Gascon by a humiliating 23 points. In other words, Elon looks like he's ready to fund efforts to gut both parties and replace their establishment figures with far more MAGA-oriented, common-sense public servants. Obviously, he believes that if he can replace these far-left nuts, then the Democrats are going to be far more likely to work with MAGA Republicans. In fact, Elon is even going global with this. He's reportedly considering funding Nigel Farage's populist party Reform UK to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, this would be huge, given how Reform UK is quickly surpassing the Tories as the new standard bearer for British conservatives and populists. In fact, just yesterday, the Reform Party won yet another election, a local seat in the UK, and they continue to rack up seats. So if they're funded at the same level or beyond as the Tories, with Labour collapsing under the disaster that is two-tier Keir Starmer, all bets are off for the future of UK politics with this approach. And it ain't just Britain. Elon recently tweeted out, quote, "Only the AfD can save Germany. Only the AfD can save Germany." Now, if you don't know, the AfD stands for the Alternative for Deutschland, the Alternative for Germany. And they're basically the MAGA party of Germany. They're a young party, and they only entered the Bundestag, the German parliament, back in 2017 with 13% of the votes. They're very new, but they're now the number 2 most popular party in the entire nation, the number 1 most popular party in Eastern Germany. And Elon appears to be all in with them. Their government just collapsed. Olaf Scholz just got a no confidence vote. So they're going to have snap elections. And it looks like Elon's all in with helping AfD get their best election returns yet. Here's AfD leader Alice Weidel thanking Elon for his support.
Dear Elon, thank you so much for your note. The Alternative for Germany, the AfD, is indeed the one and only alternative for our country. Our last option, if you ask me. I wish you and President Donald Trump all the best for the upcoming tenure. And also, I wish you and all the American people Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Now, of course, true to form, being the protectors and guardians of democracy that the permanent political class happens to be, the powers that be in Berlin are doing everything they can to ban that political party. That's right, I kid you not. They're doing everything they possibly can to ban the AfD from German politics. And by the way, you may have guessed it, that involves both mainstream left and mainstream right parties in Germany. They're what's called their CDU, that's their mainstream right party, and their Social Democrats. Basically, they're Republican and their Democrat equivalents. They're doing everything they can to ban the AfD because you keep voting for them. You in Germany keep voting for them. They keep winning. They keep growing their numbers. It's very similar to what we just saw happen in Romania, with the Romanian High Court actually overturning their presidential election. Yes, that just happened. Nobody in the EU cares. Nobody in Washington cares. Yes, Romania just canceled their presidential election because their nationalist populist candidate, their Magga candidate, or I guess it'd be Murga, Make Romania Great Again, their Trump, a fellow by the name of Calin Georgescu, he won the first round, and he was about to win the second round in a landslide. So what did they do? The powers that be did? The Romanian High Court stepped in, and they canceled the election. Oh, and now, of course, they're investigating him. I kid you not. They're investigating. And you know for what? You know what they're investigating for? For colluding with the Russians. If you do not get this, I am going to flip out. It is not Republicans versus Democrats. It's the people versus the political class. It's a new populist uprising that's ready to storm an old, decrepit, corrupt oligarchy. It is not Republican versus Democrat anymore. Yes, I know it plays itself out, at least formally, that way. Of course, we want a Republican in rather than a Democrat because they're far more likely to be on our side. Yes, we get it. But we now have to take into consideration more than ever which Republican we're putting into office, precisely because in the end, they have such a propensity to vote with the Democrat more than they vote against them, precisely because they both belong to the same establishment uniparty controlled by donors and lobbyists. And so the key to all of this, what's really going on here, is that we are really in the midst of the rise of a new politics, a politics that is even now redefining Washington, D.C. as part of a larger divide that transcends party and partisanship. Make no mistake, the swamp, the establishment, is going to go the way of the dodo bird. They will lose. A new politics is rising. A politics of the people. Which means, ironically, as it turns out, Kamala was right about one thing. There indeed will be no going back. Over to you, gang. Over to you as our moderators assemble your questions. Our last questions before Christmas. If you want to ask me your questions because YouTube has suspended our super chats, just click on that link below. Join any one of our levels of support at fight.turleytalks.com/join. You have immediate access to our own virtual platform, censorship-free, where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them right here, right now. Also, we all know that in moments of emergency, you don't have time to hesitate. Whether you're deep in the wild hunting or living off the grid, you need to be prepared for anything life throws your way. The wellness company's Field Emergency Kit offers the most robust personal urgent care, giving you the edge when seconds count, packed in an IP67 military-grade, waterproof and dust-proof case. This kit ain't messing around. It's not just built tough. It's built to save lives. Inside, You'll find life-saving antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitic, non-addictive pain relief, and even a generic EpiPen for critical allergic reactions. With over 60 conditions covered, this kit stands ready when medical help is miles away or just simply not an option. And each kit includes an 85-page medical guide written by the wellness company's medical board, guiding you step by step to handle emergencies with confidence. It's designed for adventurers, survivalists, and anyone who refuses to leave their safety to chance. Gear up with the Field Emergency Kit today, because when the unexpected happens, you won't just survive, you will conquer it. Click the link below and use code TURLEY to save up to $180. You heard that right. You're going to save up to $180 if you use code TURLEY, clicking on that link below right now. If you're the man of the house, I mean, this is the perfect gift to ask for this holiday. There's still time. Digital gift cards are available. Click on that link below right now. All right, gang, what do we got? What do we got? Our final Q&A before the big day, Christmas Day. Franz, good to hear you. I got two theories about the drones. Oh, cool. Let's talk about the drone. I wanted to get your opinion. Either they belong to the legacy media and they're looking for their audience. I knew you were going here, man. I knew you were going to come up with something clever, Franz. Either it's from the legacy media and they're looking for their audience, or they belong to the DNC and they're looking for Kamala's personality or Kamala herself, right? Which one are you leaning toward? I'm going with, since I think we know that Kamala is apparently at the White House now for whatever reason, I think we'll go with the legacy media. They're still looking for their audience. Somehow, it wasn't just those voters that disappeared from 2020. It's also the legacy media's audience. I love it. Frauds. Crazy. RT Corp, Dr. Turley, since we are on the continuing resolution today, why can't we just make Congress stay in D.C. until they figure it out? Oh, sounds great to me. They're public servants, right? I spent Christmas Eve 2015 arriving in Kuwait on my way to Afghanistan and spent the holidays flying missions outside Bagram. Thank you for your service, RT. So I don't see why we should have to be so nice, but I'm probably just talking tough as a faceless guy on the internet or a bot. You never know. Charlie Nature theme. I'm with you. I'm with you on both of that. I think they should be stuck there until they figure it out. And I don't think they should have. I've heard people say they shouldn't get paid unless they have at least a 50% approval rating. I'll let them get paid, but I don't think they should ever even come close to a pay raise unless they have at least a 50% approval rating. Then they'll do it, right? So, yeah, I'm with you, RT. I think they're just a bunch of pampered little, aristocrats. Michael, Dr. Steve, as we enter this joyous season of our Lord's birth on the crux of a new MAGA era, my wife and I have been avoiding large market retailers and shopping for gifts at local-owned businesses. Does this hurt or help the new MAGA economy going forward? No, I think it's a both and. I love that, Michael. I think it's a both and. Big corporations take care of themselves. They're international. They're multinational. You don't have to worry about that. If you want to use some of your dollars to bless local-owned business owners who are the bread and butter of our economy, not just our economy, just our culture, just with the work ethic and the like. Absolutely. No, I think it's a both and. So that's the neat thing with we can be either or. We can be either or. I've always been, either or particularly with a parallel economy, but I've always been a both and guy. I'm not. So there are some. I know people who are like all into crypto and only have crypto accounts. And are staying away from state-owned currency as much as possible. Although, when you purchase things, generally speaking, it's going to have to get converted. But I know people who are all in with the parallel economy. That's great. I'm totally for that. It's great. My thing is, it's okay to have a foot in one and a foot in the other. Why? Well, because there's still some services in the old economy, as it were, that are better, that are more accessible, what have you. The key, though, is not to be dependent on the old economy, because the old economy, of course, operates by, well, probably not anymore, but it did operate by wokeness, and wokeness will cancel you. So you just don't want to be dependent on that economy. So that was why it's one of the reasons why I'm a big advocate of crypto. Crypto is your hedge from being debanked, your hedge against being debanked in this Bretton Woods, woke economy. So that will be something that can protect your assets as a hedge to that. They can't touch your crypto. Nothing they can do with that. So I think you want to have a foot in one and a foot in the other. And the way it's balanced is you're not dependent on the old economy. You're not dependent. The new economy is where you can find life if you need it, that kind of thing. So there you go. No, I think that's a wonderful idea, Michael. God bless you on that. John, is Trump playing 4D chess with the prospect of a government shutdown? It's a good question. I thought about that a little bit, and I was trying to think what the 4D would be. I guess my presentation is as close as I came to it, to what the 4th, 5th, 6th move would be. That's already been planned out. I just think he may be. For me, in the end, he is bringing to the fore those who he's going to keep his eye on. This particularly the second vote, I think the first vote as well, but particularly the second vote, I think brought out of the woodworks, shed light on who the golems are. That'll be real quick to sell Trump out. That's why he does not like Chip Roy. Chip Roy sold Trump out many times, not just once, many times. Chip Roy was he bought into the J6 nonsense. He called Trump's, if I recall, he called Trump's actions impeachable, or at least possibly impeachable. He was all for Ron DeSantis. He was all against Ken Paxton, want Ken Paxton removed in Texas. And this guy's bad news if it comes to MAGA. He may be Freedom Caucus, but he's bad news when it comes to MAGA. He is not MAGA. Nancy Mace is a mixed bag. One day she'll be your best friend. The next minute she'll sell you down the river in the name of abortion. You got to watch out for her. So these are the people he's saying you got to target. And if we target you, you're going down. You're not going to win re-election. It's that simple. You're going down. All your power and affluence is gone. So that's what if there is some 4D, I think he brought out of the darkness, out from hiding the 38 congressional, I'm assuming 99% of them are coming back, but the 38%, 38 congressional Republicans he needs to keep an eye on, and that we may need to primary. Terry, could Elon Musk actually be made Speaker of the House? Does the Constitution allow it? Would he have the support of the House Republican Conference? So the last part is the key. So as I understand it, yes, anyone could be made Speaker of the House. Anyone. I don't even think they have to be. I don't think there has to be the presidential requirements, right? Because you can be foreign born and run for Congress. So anyone can be appointed Speaker of the House. It does not have to be a member of Congress. But you caught it. Can they create a coalition that passes bills? That's the hard part. So that's why they tend to get somebody from within that already has the connections and the relationships. They get somebody from within to hold the position. So yes, he could. I don't know if he'd want it, to be honest with you. They were talking also Vivek as a possibility, but we'll have to see. Again, it's fascinating just to see how much power and influence he has, and Trump hasn't even been inaugurated yet. It's a pure power. It's a raw political, financial, and technological power we just haven't seen before. Joanne, I've been through a shutdown and I got my Social Security check. Plus, government workers got their checks when the shutdown ended. I'm with you 1,000%, Joanne. I saw it too. I remember I lived in Baltimore in the, the 96, 95, 96 shutdown with Gingrich and Clinton. And I taught a bunch of guitar students down in Arlington, Virginia, and they all worked for the government. They were having a blast during the shutdown. To my knowledge, they were still getting paid. They said this is nothing. It's all there. It's again, they've become masters of deception, and the media amplifies that deception, a deception that always works in accordance with the benefit of the establishment, of which they're a part. RT Corp, Dr. Turley, have you seen any of Stephen Smith's videos recently? Funny thing about the red pill, more often than not, it's not taken voluntarily. And more often than not, it's administered as a suppository. It's more often than not, it's administered as a suppository. Unfortunately for most folks, they become red pilled because they got screwed. Yes, I have. I've been very fascinated. I saw Stephen A. Smith moving in that direction several months back. He was very critical of Biden, very complimentary of Trump. Then he seemed to go back when Kamala entered into the race. I might be wrong, but if I recall, he started to say, "Oh, okay, we're safe now." And he could go back to being a shill for the establishment. And then Trump won big time. And yeah, it's not, I mean, we'll see if it's genuine. To me, that's why I love Roseanne. We'll have Roseanne Barr on. I just interviewed her the other day. We'll have her on, I believe, Monday night. And one of the reasons why I really appreciate Roseanne is she supported Trump. Well, first of all, because she's working class and a populist comedian. But she supported Trump even when it was unpopular to do so, especially in Hollywood. And she would go on, the Jimmy Kimmel shows, and she would go on Jimmy Fallon shows and so forth. And she would totally defend Trump. Totally. I mean, fearlessly. And I said, that's somebody, I mean, she didn't give a rip how it affected her career or anything. And I just respect that kind of bravery. So I'll see. Stephen Smith has yet to prove that to me. I just saw him vacillating a little too much, but we'll see. Yeah, you're right. maybe the suppository will work this time. Rich, Dr. Steve says Congress and the Senate both want to increase the income beyond their salaries. Can Trump, as head of government executive, provide a financial incentive such as a pay increase for the less they spend and a big bonus for balancing the budget? That's what I think. I love it. Why not? If we're running a business, that's what we would do. If you can cut the spending. And so now, again, the problem, like we talk about with Ross Gibbons, the problem is they make so much money. They make so much money on the insider trading. The insider trading is how lobbyists pay them off. And what's a little pay raise when you could be, I mean, Nancy Pelosi has literally made hundreds of millions of dollars in her 155-year career in Washington. So I think you'd have to ban the trading. And then the one thing that I agree with Biden that he did at the 11th hour, called for at the 11th hour, you have to ban the trading, make them at least somewhat dependent on that paycheck, and then give them pay incentives for good governance. But the old bloated Washingtonian aristocratic establishment is dead. It's over. It's unsustainable. Elon's pointed that out. Trump's pointed it out. Economists, far and wide have pointed out the way we have approached rule post World War II is unsustainable. And DC is going to have to be cleaned out, whether they like it or not. It's just that simple. RT Corp, Dr. Turley, you almost read my last comment on last night's live stream. I saw it pop up. Speaking of battles far from home, this is the 80th anniversary of the beginning of the Battle of the, is it the Bouge in Belgium, particularly the Battle of Bastogne. Tooting me own horn here in high school, I used to mow the lawn, the Battle of Bulge. Thank you. I thought, yes, the Battle of Bulge. Tooting my own horn here in high school, I used to mow the lawn of a little old man who was in the same regiment, 506 Parachute Infantry Regiment, with a band of brothers. Wow, who was there? Oh my, okay, all right, yeah. Now I'm putting all that because I've seen the movie Band of Brothers. Phenomenal, ROT. And again, thank you for your service. And that, wow, what an honor to know people like that. I mean, to have that connection with history. Missy, isn't it a bad idea for Trump to threaten Chip Roy already when Chip is one of the strongest conservatives in D.C.? I'm in Texas. He's helped us once with FEMA personally. I don't think starting off with strong threats against your own is a great way to go. So that's the critique, Missy. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I know people. I don't know him personally. I know an Austin family down there who's personal friends with Chip Roy. But Chip is not MAGA. He may be conservative, but he's not MAGA. He's not. He did not stick with Trump when it got tough. He bailed on him. He stood with DeSantis. He stood against Ken Paxton. So he's got a mixed record. That's the problem. He's got a mixed record, and that mixed record reflects the discrepancy between the voter and the politician. And he's not, for many people, he is not a strong conservative. The path to hell is littered with, quote, strong conservatives, because in the end, they just don't seem to deliver. They've had 20 years and they just don't, 30 years, and they just don't deliver. They screw it all up. So there's just, I think it really comes down to this crisis in legitimacy. To the extent that he is seen as part of the problem, part of the establishment, he's going to get washed over. He will get primaried. I mean, Trump is already, as you could see, he's targeting him. If you're saying, well, why do it? Why him? Why? Well, because he's part of the same. He's part of this as far as this new politics is concerned. And to the extent that he seems to have turned his back on Trump, he is seen as part of the problem. That's it. Just, I mean, I'm being descriptive. I'm not being prescriptive. I do not have a dog in this fight. I'm not pro-chip or anti-chip. Pro-chip or anti-chip. I do not have a dog in that fight. What I'm trying to do is analyze why it is they're targeting him, why it is they're targeting Nancy Mace, why to a certain extent they're targeting Mike Johnson. I think we would all agree with that one. But Mike Johnson can tout his conservatism too. He's got quite the record too. So it's not the record. Are you standing with MAGA when we need you? Chip Roy is a big no on that. He has not stood with MAGA when we needed him. He didn't stand with us on J6. He didn't stand with us when Trump ran in the primary. He didn't stand with Ken Paxton, who's fooling MAGA. So I'm very, I think he's unfortunately having to sleep in the bed he made. That's, maybe I shouldn't give those analogies for politicians, but you know what I mean. Dr. Steve, first of all, Merry Christmas. Eye Patch McCain, I believe, just cost himself a seat in 2026 with his, he's talking about Dan Crenshaw, with his expletive rant, a cat turd the other day. That's right. You do not take on cat turd. At least the sewer rat rhinos are exposing themselves so we can remove them in 26. Your thoughts? So to me, that if this is 4D chess, that's what it is. The 4D element to it. I mean, outside of the new politics and so on. Or no, I wouldn't even say outside. It's very much a part of this new politics. Yeah, it's getting, these CRs are getting the rhinos to expose themselves. Which rhinos do we need to primary? And Elon said, I mean, again, the gist here is they're going to stick with very deep red districts that have rhinos. And so we're guaranteed to have a Republican come via them, or same with senators, deep red, like South Carolina. South Carolina's not voting for a Democrat. No more than Montana was voting for a Democrat, or Ohio was voting for a Democrat, or West Virginia, right, or Kentucky. So you're going for those vulnerable rhinos, vulnerable to a primary challenge. Those and there's about 30 to 40 of them. And we couldn't do this before November 5th because we didn't have the political power. We might have had the financial and the technological power, but we didn't have the political power. Now we've got the political power. And so now it's a perfect storm. And they're finding that out real fast. And yes, there may be casualties there, like Chip Roy, who are generally good, strong conservatives, but they're not MAGA. And this is the new, and that old kind of conservatism, that fiscal conservatism without MAGA, it's over. It's an old politics. So Brian Edgett, is you my Brian Edgett, my buddy Brian? If this is Brian Edgett, God bless you, brother. It's Good seeing you. Brian is an old colleague of mine from Eastern University. Will the government shutdown affect Social Security and Medicare? I do not believe it does, as I understand it. No. But I don't know. We'll have to double check on that. But I do not believe it does. Wouldn't that be sad that, all these pork projects still get paid for, but people on Social Security or Medicare don't? But that would just seem like such a swampy thing to do. It would be right in line with what they would do, wouldn't it? But no, I do believe you still get Social Security checks. And again, if I recall, too, they can also pass single resolutions to keep those payments going, which would be easy to do, and you'd be a fool to vote against it, obviously. Dr. Steve Kemp, Pam Bondi launched investigations on members of Congress for insider trading against the likes of Nancy Pelosi and Eye Patch McCain. Yeah, he really cleaned up, didn't he? Wasn't that Tucker who came up with that? Eye Patch McCain. Oh, Tucker just despises him, doesn't he? As he should. Dan, something broke Dan Crenshaw. Again, thank you for his service, but something broke him and turned him into a very, very bitter liberal, woke nut. But anyway, I believe she can. I believe she can. I know. Again, there might be some serious pushback in Congress from that. It may be another 4D chess move to see who's with us and who's against us. But a lot of members of Congress are going to get very nervous with investigations like that. Because they're all doing it. Maybe it could be one of those things like Stalin used to do. You just make examples of 2 or 3, and then everybody else kind of quells down. It could be, and you can rest them assured that it's only going to be these 3, but keep your nose clean from this point forward. But the amount of corruption in that place is just, it's the connective tissue to how they do business. It's just terrible. Jerry, is there a way to get more of us mega voters to stop our constant nitpicking with Trump's cabinet picks and start seriously nitpicking the 38 rhinos instead? Trust Trump for now. Yes, Jerry, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I really do. When I talk to people, fellow MAGA folk who might nitpick like this, when I talk to them, I do like bringing up this paradigm that Amanda Newhouse of Tablet Magazine put forward several months ago, actually. It's actually a brilliant piece called Brokenism. And it's a funny term she uses to describe the new politics today. So we geek out at the terminology like civilizational populism, right, or some civilization states, or techno-populism, or cyber civilizationalism. But she actually came up with just a great, very practical term, brokenism. This election coming up, this is when Biden was still in power. She actually considered him to be an emblem, an embodiment of brokenism. Our politics are fundamentally broken. And the cool thing is everybody recognizes it. Nobody, not even the New York Times, thinks that our politics is great. They all recognize our politics are broken. Heck, Democrats are, constantly, the systemic racism, so whatever it is, everybody recognizes the politics are broken. The difference is between those who believe that we need outsiders to come in with shock therapy and to basically revamp the whole thing because it's rotten to the core, versus what she calls status quoists, who believe though it's broken, there are still enough resources within the status quo, within the establishment, to be able to solve the problems that it itself creates. And I throw that last part in to show the contradiction of being a status quoist, but regardless. So what I try to do is if they ever question or they're concerned about Trump's picks, I like to say Trump is a brokenist. He wants people from outside the system, or those who've been kicked out of the system, like RFK and Tulsi and so on. He wants people outside the system to come in and basically tear it apart and rebuild it. And to the certain extent, and to the extent that he has people in the cabinet picks that you may not like, you have to trust that they are part of this larger paradigm. But these 38 are part of the status quo. The 38 are part of the status quo. And they're the problem. Status quoism is the problem. So either they get with the new brokenness paradigm or you're out. We primary them. We get rid of them. And we got, again, the political, financial, and technological power to do so. So that's how I would do it, Jerry. Wendy, Merry Christmas, Dr. C, and thank you for educating me on things that school didn't. You make me feel smarter. Well, thank you, Wendy. You make me feel all the richer. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. RT, 'twas the live stream before Christmas and all through the congressional house. Not a creature was stirring, not even a demon rat mouse. The continuing resolution was hung in the chamber. Who cares? Wait for votes that just never were there. How you do that on the fly, I'll never know. That is brilliant, man. That is freaking brilliant. Rock Dog, Dr. C, do you believe we'll see criminal charges against Miss Piggy Cheney for the crime she committed during the despicable J6 committee? I have a feeling we will. I'm gonna lean my neck out on that one. I have a feeling we will. I don't think this is 2016. I don't think this is Trump going, let's forget about it. I think he knows, and everyone in his inner circle, including Elon, and Vivek, and JD, they know. I mean, they know they have to take down the ones who tried to take down Trump. They know that. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard was put on a no-fly list at one point. Think about that. Everyone from RFK, everyone, Elon, Vivek, they've all been victims in some way, shape, or form of the establishment. The abusive, aggressive, virulent behavior of the establishment. They've all been recipients of it in some way, shape, or form. So I think they are ready to take it down. The media knows it. That's why they're trying to set it up already. Oh, it's retribution. It's revenge. Whee! Fortunately, nobody cares because nobody's watching them anymore. Nobody's reading them or availing themselves of them anymore. But they know it's coming. That's why they're saying this. They're trying to preempt it. And they're trying to brunt it. They're trying to limit it by saying, are you sure? Are you sure you're not going to take revenge on your enemies? So they're saying that because it's confession through projection when all said and done. So yes, I do. Write that down. I do think she's going to be brought to justice. Now, again, I don't know if she's going to be singing 20 years or I don't know what the punishment is going to be, but I think she is going to be severely she's going to face some very severe consequences for what she did. And I think the whole J6 committee will. And that's it, gang. I love you. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Merry Christmas. May God richly bless you and keep you as you celebrate the birth of Christ, the return of the garden, right? A new Adam and Eve with the child that was promised in Genesis 3 to crush the head of the serpent in a beautiful garden setting, even with angelic beings around them. Eden has returned. The tree of life is with us in Christ. So may God truly bless you this Christmas season. And I will see you. I'll probably do a video for you guys on the 24th. And on the 27th. We'll have a couple of videos. We're going to have a bunch of stuff going on as well on the channel that you don't want to miss out, including my interview with Roseanne Barr that you're going to absolutely love. I also did an amazing interview with a German analyst named Konstantin von Hofmeister that you're going to want to check out on his book called Esoteric Trump. It is a fascinating interview. You're going to love it. It's going to change the whole way of seeing what really the kind of re-traditionalist archaeo-future world that's rising in and through Trump. He's a brilliant analyst. So you definitely want to check that out. Got a bunch of videos already in the queue ready for you. So lots of wonderful content. Keep checking it out. But I'll see you live or, one-on-one where I am a few times through the next week. But until then, gang, Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. God bless you. And let's keep going. The golden age is here. Let's rock and roll. God bless.